The officials for the Black Clover chapter finally came out, and there's quite a bit I want to say about them. So let's jump into it. So the chapter starts off with Nox suggesting that Asta should leave the battlefield because he's really injured right now. But Asta says he can't do that right now. And this part of the chapter with the second page. I actually really like the translation for this, because when the fan translation came out for it on Leaks Night, there was a translation that made it seem like Asta was the key to beating Lucifero, so Noct was trying to protect him at all costs so they could actually come close to doing that. But I actually really like how it's translated in the officials. Noct isn't saying that Asta is the key to beating Lucifero. What he's saying is that he's really all they got, and it might not even be enough. Look at his worried expression, and his wording as well. Nobody who's super confident in the fact that Asta could beat Lucifero would be this worried. I think he's saying to himself, Asta, he's anti-magic, is definitely what they need to beat Lucifero. But look at how Asta is now. He's exhausted and he can barely fight. And it doesn't look like they have any other options either. The captains were taken down. So the situation is looking really dire. At least that's the way I'm looking at it right now. Because I don't really see Lucifero being defeated by the time this is all over. But I'll get more into that later. For now, what happens next is we actually see Yuno and Miraliona continue their fight against Lucifero. And as we learned in Leaks Night, we found out the other devil's name, which is Adramelech. Lucifero looks really irritated. He wants to go after Asta, but he can't. So he yells at Adramelech, and he's like, "You fight these two!" And Adramelech's like, nah, I'll pass. It's more fun to watch you fight Lucifero. And he just starts laughing. And then Miraliona finds a good opportunity to mock him, and right before she's able to land a punch, she realizes that her body's breaking up, with Adramelech saying, "Things were just getting good. Maybe she got too close to Mana. Human limits, Which, I assume Miraliona nearly became Mana itself, practically killing her? That's actually insane. But as the fight continues, we see Yuno try to land a punch on Lucifero, but that doesn't end up working. So then we see Noct go into his union mode, and oh my god, I know I went crazy over it when the leaks came out, but now that I see it in the officials, it looks so sick. Union mode Canis X Equus? Oh my god. And then he has what looks like two dogs, I guess like a Cerberus thing going on, just without the extra head. And he bites into Lucifero, with Asta trying to land an attack, but it ends up failing, and his union mode ends up stopping right there. And then that's where we see Noct try to protect Asta. He was willing to die at that very moment. He knew that Asta couldn't die, and to me it seems like he wasn't just protecting him because his anti-magic could really help in the battle, but he's the vice captain. It's his job to protect his subordinate. And as we see him slowly descend into the ground with him nearly closing his eyes, he says, "So this is my limit. I'm on my way to see you now, Morgan, to apologize." And then Captain Yami shows up out of nowhere, and he's like, "We finally meet up again, and you pull this? Don't you dare go dying on me, Vice Captain." And it's super hype seeing Yami show up. Oh my god, I went crazy when I saw him save Noct. I mean, I didn't think Noct would actually die, but I did think that was a really good emotional moment. But back to Yami, I'm now noticing that his sword is clearly different than his previous blade, which is in Asta's possession. Here, thanks to the fact that it's in higher quality, we can tell that it looks like it came straight out of a tree, which obviously means that William likely used his World Tree magic to get him a new sword to jump into the fight. So that leads me to think that William is okay right now, and he was good enough to give him the sword. So here's my thoughts, right? I made a tweet about this earlier, and I said, we could clearly see Yami holding a wooden sword. I'm guessing William not only crafted it, but also healed Yami. He might have healed himself too, so I'm betting he'll join the fight too alongside Patri and the rest of the elves. But how did I forget that William also went through the same thing Yami went through? They're both drained out of mana, and they're both really exhausted, tired, and near the brink of death. So I don't think William could have been the one who healed Yami, or even himself. I think the more likely scenario is that Alphana, was the one that healed both of them. She likely healed William first, and then healed Yami per his request. Afterwards, William used his World Tree magic to conjure up that wooden sword, gave it to Yami, and he jumped into action to save Noct. Now I'm betting Yami, William, Patri, and the rest of the elves, Fauna, Raya, and Vito, are likely going to join the fight. Which will be very interesting to see how they'll do, because we saw how Patri did against Zagrid, and that didn't go so well. And to be fair, that includes both Licht and Lumiere. They both did fairly well against them. They were holding their own, but they weren't close enough to be able to defeat them. They needed Asta's anti-magic, alongside Yami being able to wound Zagrid's heart. Both of those elements caused Zagrid's defeat. But here it's a different ballgame because we're talking about Lucifero, who is one of the highest ranking devils of the underworld. It's not even close to being compared to Zagrid. So I don't know how the elves would fare against him. They would need a plan to have Asta go into motion and do something. But I still believe, back to what I said earlier, I don't think Asta's going to be the one to defeat Lucifero. I don't think they're going to... Well, they might come close, but I think Lucifero is going to be the one to come on top this time. Which leads me to my theory about what I said in my other video. Because I think what's going to happen here is this is likely going to lead into Yami dying. And once again, before I continue, this is not me saying, oh, Yami has to die or someone needs to die in Black Clover. Like I said, this is a theory I've had for a long time. Whether it's true or not, who knows? And I'm completely fine with either scenario happening. But I do believe Tabata's going to pull an Oda. In which case, I believe Yami's going to fight. He's going to come really close to defeating Lucifero with Asta. Maybe not just with Asta, but, you know, with the help of William, the elves, and everyone around who's still fighting. Then, right when you think it's all over, Lucifero will likely deal one huge blow to Yami, and that's where we'll see him die. And every single Black Bull is present there. So if Yami were to die, and I'm saying if he were, I'm not saying that he is, I think this would be a really good time to do it. Everybody is there. Every single Black Bull member, every captain, everybody would be there to witness it. And I think that would make for a really sad death. I know Tabata would make it really emotional, and I know I would cry if I read it. And I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, what about Julius's prediction of Asta dying? I still think that's also a possibility. We could get Asta dying in that moment instead of Yami. How I see it, right, because Julius wasn't 100% certain that Asta could die. I feel like there could be an outcome where Asta's fate changed, and Yami jumps in, and he's the one that takes a fatal blow, and he protects Asta. Which leads me back to what I said in the Clover Summit, where I have this huge theory where I believe the gods of fate are at play, and they know that Asta is way too important to die at that moment, so they change fate to make sure that he survives whatever fatal blow he would receive, and Yami would be the one to die. But that's just one major theory that I have. But assuming that Asta is the one that dies, right, and there's no god of fate in play or anything, none of that, we could get an Underworld arc, which is something I've talked about with many people like for a very long time. I think at this point the whole fandom has talked about it. So that's a very likely possibility. We'll see him go through various different realms and try to return back to the mortal one where he can rejoin the battle. And if something like that were to happen, that's why I believe that angels would finally make an appearance, whether it would be the captains or civilians or whatever, they call upon the angels and ask for their help, or the angels interfere themselves and they realize that one of the three rulers of the underworld has come into the mortal realm and they have to be the ones to have to stop him, which ends up possibly creating a huge war between devils and angels. And now that I think about it, that outcome could probably still happen even if Yami died. So the possibility of angels showing up with either of them dying is up there. It's a possibility. But yeah, there's a lot of different outcomes that could come just from the next few chapters alone. But that's pretty much everything I have to say for now. Feel free to let me know what you guys think. Am I just full of it? Am I crazy? You guys have better theories? Do you guys like my theory and you agree with it? Just let me know. I'm always up for discussions. But for now, I'm gonna call it. I look forward to checking out the leaks when they release on Wednesday night. And that'll do it for me. Peace out, everyone.